Interested in real estate? How about wealth? Well, they go hand in hand. And here, you'll learn all about it. Welcome to Be the Bank, a podcast where we discuss and debate the topics centered around real estate investing. Your host, Justin Bogard, shares insights into investing in real estate to create real wealth and passive income for you and your family. He'll share stories of real estate investments done right, walk you through the process of owning a real estate note, and most importantly, educate you so you can be the bank. This is Be the Bank, brought to you by American Note Buyers. Now, here's your host, Justin Bogard.
Welcome to episode number 3 today. Non-performing loans. Are they easy to do? Are they difficult to do? What kind of pitfalls can you run into? And how fun can they be to predict what's going to happen? Stay tuned. Richard, you are back from Vietnam. How was it?
I am. And I'm still alive.
and yes, there is a better time difference. It used to be 12 hours. Now it's only 3 hours time difference.
That's right. And I only got sick once during the trip. I only got food poisoning once. So how about that?
How about that? That's surprising. That's something I didn't ask you about. I know that when we had spoken one time, you mentioned that something didn't agree with you, and you were like, "Yeah, this is." But having it happen one time is actually pretty surprising. I would have thought it happened more than once.
Yeah. Well, you always have to be careful. You have to eat cooked foods for the most part. But even if you do that, there's the occasional little buggy that gets in there. I mean, the locals can all drink the water and things like that. It's just that our metabolisms aren't set up the same way theirs are. So something we have to be careful for.
I was just going to ask you about the water. Is it safe to drink there then?
No. Yeah, everything is. They all have. If they drink water out of the tap, they have filters on them, special filters to get a lot of the microbes out of them. And we, as travelers, unfortunately, end up using a lot of bottled water that comes in plastic bottles. And so you're generating a lot of plastic bottles, which we would rather not. What we try and do is get one at the start of a trip and basically keep refilling it, but you can't always do that because every time you go through security at an airport, you have to empty it out because you can't take it through security and those type of things. But you pretty much got to drink bottled water.
So what do you do when you cook food? Because I'm sure the tap water that comes from the sink, you have to boil it before you use it to cook food?
You have to boil it at least for 3 minutes. And honestly, we just used, we get some very big bottles of water. And if you're going to make, so we had out of the 5-week trip, 2 weeks of it were Airbnbs. And so we're doing some of our own cooking and things there.
Yeah.
And for that, you can use, we did use tap water a couple of times to make just spaghetti and that kind of stuff, simple stuff. But you have to let it boil for at least 3 minutes before before it's safe to use.
So then are you able to use like a Brita filter or something like that to pour the tap water into the container, and then will it filter out everything at that point, or is it still dangerous to drink?
I suppose you could, but you got to take it with you. And
that's true.
Yeah, in our instance, we were trying to do 5 weeks of travel and have nothing more than a carry-on. Well, northern Vietnam is pretty chilly. You got a lot of days in northern Vietnam because it's way up in the hills that are only 40 degrees.
Oh, wow.
In southern Vietnam, it was 85 and humid.
Complete opposite.
Fit all that into a carry-on bag.
Right.
That's a challenge. We did it, but it's a challenge.
Do you each had your own carry-on, or just one? You shared one carry-on?
We each have our own carry-on, but I mean, it's got to fit into the overhead. And basically what that means is that you have, for me, 3 shirts, 2 pairs of shorts, and 1 pair of long pants, and then a whole bunch of underwear and t-shirts and things like that. You get very sick of wearing those 3 shirts, but they do a lot of wash. And guess what? Nobody cares because they're only seeing you once.
That sounds like my home life. Have 2 pairs of shorts and 1 pair of pants.
It works. So.
Well, that's awesome. Well, we're glad that you made it back to the U.S. and you had a great experience. You and Gita had a great time out there. So I'm sure you'll have a bunch of pictures that you'll compile for us so we can see.
Yeah, I would highly recommend it. And Geeta and I make videos. She's a professor, for all those of you who don't know it, of geology and climate change. So we make videos for a lot of our classes, and a lot of them I find quite interesting. I think I'm going to make, and if anybody was interested, they can have access to this, but I'm going to make just a couple of what I'll call lower grade photo essays, which are, for instance, I'm going to do one on street food. We went to both Thailand and to Vietnam, and there's a lot of really good and fun street food. They make some sticky rice things, and some barbecue things that we've never seen over here. Matter of fact, I'd like to bring some over here to try to cook. They make a believe it or not, what I would call a banana taco. Rice paper, which is very tasty.
Man.
And basically what I'm going to do is just bring a lot of the videos, but paste a lot of the videos and stuff like that up that I have together, and do a voiceover and with a little bit of music. And it's interesting to watch. And it's not fancy. It's not like a podcast video that you'd see in this instance, but it's fun.
It's not going to be a Discovery Channel.
No,
food channels thing.
Yeah, the things we do for Gita's classes are much higher quality, let's say, than that. But,
okay, right on.
Yeah, kind of fun.
Non-performing loans. I want to get into some topics today about non-performing loans and kind of the experiences that we both have, either with loans that we've bought together or loans that we have bought on our own before we kind of did things together. And so one of the things that newer investors kind of get the feeling is that maybe I should get into non-performing loans first, because it's just like flipping a house, right? You just got to fix the paper. The person isn't paying their mortgage. Let's go knock on their door and get them to start paying again. And, oh, hey, look, this is going to be a great return for us. It doesn't work like that, does it, Richard?
Well, it can, but no. I think there's a lot of, or at least several people beating the drum on Facebook and trying to be sort of an HGTV non-performing note buyer.
Yeah.
And they leave out a lot of the potential pitfalls. And you can have potential pitfalls because you didn't craft the deal correctly. And you can have potential pitfalls because of the project. In other words, there's things in there that you didn't know.
Yeah.
One of my worst deals turned out to be a deal that was not tied to the foundation at all. And in California here, that's pretty bad with earthquakes because things fall off their foundations. And or stuff can go sideways on the legal side. So you have to, that's sort of the three main categories, I think.
You can't really predict an ROI on a non-performing loan. I see a lot of people that do that. And I think they do that to entice others to want to invest with them. And I just think that's wrong. I don't think you should be, I don't think you shouldn't be doing that, because by definition of ROI, it's return on investment. So how can you predict what an ROI is when you haven't had the investment mature?
Right.
So I don't like it when people do that, because I don't do that with anybody that would invest with us or has invested with me in the past on joining together on a non-performing loan. It just is what it is. You're buying it for a certain price. You know what the value is today, and you're guessing what the struggle is and how you can go about finding an exit for you and your partner in the deal. And it doesn't always go the way that you think it goes. Just kind of like flipping a house, right? You're never on time and you're never on budget. So two things that are pretty much guaranteed when you do a flip, right? If you are on time and on budget at the same time, you should go out and buy a lottery ticket, because that rarely happens.
Yeah. And I can say, I have made, I don't want anybody in the listening crowd to think, oh, gee, Richard and Justin just aren't, they don't know what they're doing. They're not good non-performing loan buyers, because I have made money.
Yeah.
And I suspect that you have too.
Yes.
But the first deal I bought as a non-performer, I, as my estimate, bought it correctly. I ran all the numbers of what I thought I could get for it. And, long story short, was that the renovation turned out to be double what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Oops, things like that.
There's a lot of unknown factors that you can't discover when you're going through the buying process and doing your due diligence on a non-performing loan. It just is what it is. It's tough to do non-performing loans. It can be very lucrative. That is absolutely true. And I have had killer deals, and I know you have too. But it doesn't always work out that way. So I guess I'm just giving like a cautionary tale or conservative approach to those out there that may want to do that or pursue that. That number one, you got to have a lot of experience in this stuff. And if you don't, you need to tether yourself to somebody that is experienced. Like, example, Richard and myself have done several non-performing loans and we do them together still. But we're very selective as about which ones we choose because we know that it's a grind with non-performing loans. We know there's a strategy that you have to work with your vendors, meaning, the attorneys you use, the loan servicing companies that you use. There's a whole process to that. There are requirements that certain states say you can and can't do as the lender. So if it's vacant or if it's occupied, there's things that you can and can't do. So you need to be aware of that stuff. So if you're up to it and you can stomach it, non-performing loans can work out really well for you and be a great strategy. But if you're not prepared for it or know somebody that can partner with you that is prepared to handle all that stuff, it can be a disaster sometimes.
It's very time consuming. And I
Yeah.
think that's one of the things that people don't realize. I think in I don't know what you've done in your practice before
Yep.
we started doing business together, but for myself, I never wanted to have more than two going at once.
Yeah.
I wanted to have my performing side going because the non-performing can be a huge time suck. I've got one going in the St. Louis area right now that I'm going on about 18 months to foreclose on because the borrower keeps, making a short payment here and there and restarting the clock. And it's just been very, very difficult. So you never know.
Yeah. I'll share with you one of the worst non-performers I ever had was where I bought it and I went to go visit it, took some pictures of it because it was in Indiana. And then I didn't get all the communication that was going on with it. And I wasn't able to check with the local municipalities to find out what sort of, violations there were on it so I could take care of them. And it all happened so fast before I knew it, they tore the house down. The city demoed the house.
So you lost money on the deal?
I did lose money on the deal.
Uh,
And so that was one of the worst cases that I ever ran into. And I did lose money on the deal. So that is, something that lessons you learned and things move quickly. So that was a rare case. I haven't had that issue since then. Right.
Right.
And so I obviously learned from that lesson. And so we check things and we make sure that, we're not going to be expedited into something like that in the future. So when we buy a non-performing loan intentionally, we kind of figure out all the scenarios that we don't want to run into and just really do some good research on it.
Mhm.
And we end up having some good luck with it. And we know we can ride the wave on it. We do have some loans that are performing when we buy them and become non-performing.
No, that never
It
happens.
does.
No.
It does. It does. But those end up being not as bad either because there's already somebody in there. They were paying at some point. Something happened. So you make some adjustments, you pivot, and you kind of get them going down the right track. Those don't end up being too bad. We do have one together that we're still working on, and we made it all the way through the foreclosure sale. And the borrower is still in the property, and for whatever reason, they just, decided they didn't want to pay nor communicate. And there is a redemption period now that the property is foreclosed on because it didn't sell at the sheriff's sale. And so for the next 6 months, technically the borrower could still stay in that property and live there scot-free, and there's nothing I can do about it until the redemption period expires. So
Right.
those are kind of interesting things that you want to know about before you go into it. Luckily, we buy things, at a manner at which we know if it's going to be a problem that we're very well protected. So even though we may not be making money as cash flow in the interim, when it comes to the time we get the property back, it's not going to be an issue being able to make money on the deal.
Yeah, I almost bought a deal that was much like the one you just mentioned in terms of getting it ripped down. Um, it was actually outside of Des Moines, Iowa, and Des Moines, Iowa is ripping down houses because it's costing the city more to keep them up than down. But I was going to buy the mortgage for 40,000, and I just happened to call the city. This didn't show up on title
Yep.
or anything like that. I just happened to call the city to ask about the neighborhood. And the woman behind the desk said, "Well, where is this house?" And she asked how much I was going to do this for. And she said, "Well, we're going through there, that entire area, and ripping down houses and giving owners $12,000 a house." And I'm going, "Holy smokes!" And with that, I dodged the bullet. But
Yeah.
had I not asked that question, I would have been in the same boat that you did.
Yeah. And that isn't a likely circumstance. That is another rare circumstance. It just happened to both of us that we ran across something like that. Again, it's just not to scare the audience, but things can happen that are kind of out of your control, and you don't know what you don't know, unfortunately. So again, my biggest piece of advice to anybody is just, tether yourself to somebody that knows what they're doing and actually has skin in the game as well. And that's really the best way to get through one of these for your first couple of deals. And then when you get more confidence and you understand the process and the procedure and how things work, especially if you're just focused in one state and doing this stuff, it's easy to remember what the rules and regulations are, and your expectation will be realistic as to what's going to happen. But if you're going to new states like we do, we're very cautious and ask a lot of questions before we buy them. It's obviously much more difficult to underwrite a non-performing loan than it is a performing loan, because there's a ton of scenarios you just have to line up to figure out what's going to happen next. Performing loan is pretty easy to figure out. Hey, they've been paying pretty well. Here's the property value. Here's what we can buy it for. Okay, let's move forward.
Right. And I would also caution people, quite often your servicer will volunteer to process the foreclosure. Do not do that. I've had two experiences with that, and shame on me for doing it a second time. But in both instances, I was really busy. I didn't think I was going to have the time to do it. But it's just not necessarily the servicer's priority. And they're not going to stay on top of it. In both instances, I spent a whole lot longer in the foreclosure period merely because they weren't watching the ball and moving things along and keeping pressure on legal counsel.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's not the highest and best use for them to be the middleman for a foreclosure. If you don't know what you're doing and you're willing to kind of learn and have a little bit of a time lag, that's okay to do that. It's just with Richard and I, with our experience, we can expedite things much quicker because we can remove the middleman, so to speak, and we can get in front of the attorney and go back and forth pretty quickly and get resolution, where we know when to follow up. Be like, I haven't heard from that guy 3 or 4 days after that email that I sent him or her. Let me ping them again and find out what the holdup is, or if they're waiting for me to pay an invoice. That would be their usually why they're kind of down there, not moving forward if they haven't been paid, obviously.
Right. So something I've heard about lately too is basically busted flipper loans. Flippers, hard money lenders make a loan to a flipper, and either they can't get the price, the cost goes over, or whatever. What do you know about actually buying those as non-performers? How would you do that?
So that would be buying like a hard money loan, right?
Yeah, it would typically they would have maybe a 2-year term on them, but probably just a 1-year term, because the flipper wants to get in and out in 90 days. That was their goal to start with.
So I've had opportunities like that before, and I haven't ended up purchasing those non-performing hard money loans because I think my pricing was too aggressive for the lender to want to sell it to me.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is because my radar goes off. So I've been a flipper before. I've used hard money. So I understand from the flipper's perspective as to why you need the money. And then also, if I got into a jam and I just couldn't finish the project, what are you going to do and how can you pay for the loan? You basically can't pay for the loan, right? Because the interest rate is so high, and it's interest only every month for, let's just say, a year. They're typically a year loan or 11-month loans.
Right.
So I would approach it as, how can I figure out today's value of this property, number one? And is it in any sort of condition that somebody could live in there? Most likely the answer is I probably can't figure out value because it's just, it's in a rehab state. And number two, it's probably not livable. So
Mhm.
I'm kind of turned off at that point to even take over that loan, because if I had to take the property back, then I have to do a lot of work now and get people involved to kind of deal with it and fix it and move it forward in a direction. Now, if I got it for a really good price, I'm willing to do the work and step in. But from my perspective, in the seat that I'm in today, it's not something that I would want to go after and use as like a product that I advertise that I buy all the time. It's a product
Mhm.
I would buy if the price was right.
So let's say though that you've got a couple flippers in your area, and you can do them. You can buy those notes from that flipper in your backyard. So you can go inspect the property. You can say, you can acknowledge. Let's. I'm just pulling numbers out of a hat.
Yeah.
Let's say they bought the house for 100. It's a gut. They're going to have to put 60 into it to turn it back around, and that would be a very inexpensive turnaround. Um, and they're halfway through it. So you thought you could kind of manage it if they couldn't. Would you consider something like that?
I would consider something like that. You kind of hit the nail on the head. It's close to me geographically, so I can put my eyes on it and not just depend on somebody else to tell me what the shape of it is. And
Mhm.
number two, with my experience, I know walking into it, like, okay, this is manageable. It's not going to take that much more effort. And I also may have a crew or know somebody that has a crew that could get to it in a timely manner, and I would have more confidence in buying that. But if it was across state lines and I wasn't used to it and I didn't know a lot about it, it would be very difficult for me to want to buy paper like that,
Right.
um, just from my standpoint.
Yeah. I think it also makes a big difference too, what condition the flipper's in. If he's saying, "Look, I'm just done.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
bored
that's the
right now."
assumption. They're just not going to pay you, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And even with what I mean, because you got to figure out, let's say it was maybe an $80,000 loan.
Yeah,
Uh, the hard money lender you're going to have to, fight tooth and nail to get like a 50% discount on that note. But that's kind of really what you need, because the reason that the flipper is where he is he's probably got such a deficit either on the sales side or he's way over budget.
yeah,
Well, $40,000 is going to get you nowhere in terms of
yeah,
if he's only discounting or coming off the price of 40,000. I realize sitting out here in California, 40,000 is nothing of a discount to me. In your area or in the Midwest, that might be a pretty significant discount. But either way, the point is that the discount that you might be able to negotiate with the um, hard money lender is probably not going to cover your downside. So you're really going to
yeah.
have to make that more of a 5-year loan and lower payments, and there's a lot of different moving parts there.
Exactly. Yeah. My first strategy would be to get in there. Number one, can you even buy the loan from the lender? And you
Right.
you brought up a great point. If any of us talking about this right now, listening to this podcast, would if you were the lender in that situation, would you want to take a big discount? You got to be pretty motivated to want to sell that loan, knowing that you have to sell it at a good discount for someone else to pick it up. And you
Right.
can sell it and act like it's sexy and talk about the interest rate, and they still owe you this much, and oh, it's worth this today. And it's like, that's very subjective, and it's going to be hard for them to want to sell that loan at a discount. So if you get past that battle, then that's the first step. The second battle would be, can this guy afford to finish it? If I just give him a 2-year loan, like maybe a balloon payment after 36 months and just amortize it over 30 years, would that situation work? Like, I would be very open to that, to make it, just like a regular loan, like a non-owner occupied loan. But yeah, I think the first battle would be very difficult to get past, and that lender is willing to take a big discount. Yes or no?
Yeah, because if I'm a experienced hard money lender, I've probably got some flipping experience
Mhm.
myself, or you should. And if you don't, shame on you.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be hard money lending. I mean, you have to basically have been in that pool before you start lending into it. And so rather than take the $40,000 hit, just to go with my example, I'd say, you know what, deed the thing over to me and I'll finish it out.
Yep.
And even though I don't like the time hassle, rather than take that hit up front, that's what I would do. So I think it's going to be a little bit difficult to get transactions like that, although they could be very profitable if you can.
Yeah. Yeah, hard money loans can be a great business. You just have to have a good constant flow of deals, because once your deal matures, if you don't have the next deal lined up, ready to fund, you just get some yield drag and it screws up your entire annualized return. So there's, people out there that misboast, I'm trying to make up a word here, about how much they make with their hard money loans. But if they have 3 or 4 months of time lag where they don't have their money funded in a deal, they've just negated basically 3 or 4% already on their hard money loan that they lended out in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, so what it kind of all boils down to is when I was flipping, I got out of it because a lot of the weekend flippers started to get into it, and they've been watching too much HGTV. And if you watched any of those shows, miraculously, they didn't have to pay any permit fees, and miraculously, their projects didn't have any surprises in them, like the one I described at the beginning of the show here, and they all worked. So those are all cautions that I would give to anybody who wants to do a non-performing loan.
Awesome. Richard, we're going to have to segue into something else real quick. Just want to give a shout out to our sponsor, which is American Note Buyers, which is an A and B funds company. And if you haven't already, please check out our new website, anbfunds.com. It's anbfunds.com. And you can see all of our latest offering and the things that we do at American Note Buyers. Richard, what is the one thing that you learned at Vietnam that you come back with looking at something differently? I know I put you on the spot, so I apologize.
Well, it sounds kind of trite to say this, but I just was once again reminded of all the systems that we have here that work, and the systems in places like that don't work. And by that, I mean, there's the water. I mean, you can't drink the water.
Right.
There's a lot of other things like that. But just in day-to-day life, we sort of coined the word the Vietnam way. And if anybody's Vietnamese out there, I certainly don't want to offend them. But it's really sort of the lesser developed country way. And what do I mean by that? I mean that if we say we're going to rent a car in America, and you go through Hertz or Budget or wherever, the car is probably going to be there. In Vietnam, maybe not. And you ask why, and they say, well, it just didn't show up. And well, why didn't it show up? And they don't have a real reason. And so everything is just a whole lot looser. And you say you appreciate the systems that we have set up here.
Awesome. Very good. All right. That wraps for today. This is episode number 3 of the Be the Bank podcast. And I am Justin Bogard. My partner here is Richard Thornton. Until episode number 4, we'll see you guys later.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Be the Bank. We hope you learned something from today's show. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review us. Plus, check out our channel on YouTube and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Be the Bank and on Instagram at Be the Bank Podcast. Be the Bank is sponsored by American Note Buyers. Thanks again for listening.